The May 16th, 2024 hearing for the Planning and Land Development Regulation Commission is now called to order. And if I could ask you to please silence any audible devices that you may have. And if you would please join me for the Pledge of Allegiance.
To the flag of the United States of America, and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Good morning, everyone. I would like to thank everyone for joining us this morning. And if I could have Ms. Tucker give us the roll call.
Hi, good morning, members. We'll start off with Member Craig. Just for the record, that was a here. Member Bender is absent. Member Shelley?
Here.
Member Costa?
Here.
Member Patterson?
Here.
Member Sixma?
Here.
And Chair Mills.
Here. Thank you, Ms. Tucker. We do have minutes from the April 18th, 2024 meeting. Any discussion on the minutes?
I'd make a motion to approve.
Second.
Okay, I got a motion to approve the minutes for April 18th, 2024 from Ms. Shelley and a second from Mr. Sixman. Any discussion on the motion? All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries unanimously. Okay. If anyone would like to speak for or against the cases being heard today, if you could please fill out a form at the rear of the dais here and give it to Ms. Tucker to my immediate left. We will be limiting you to a 3-minute time limit. And after the comments have been heard, I will give the applicant an opportunity to address any concerns the speakers have and answer any questions the commissioners may have. And at this time, I'd like to turn it over to Mr. Soria for legal comments.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Just for the audience and for any applicants, that decisions by this body on special exception cases and cases which rezone real property from one classification to another pursuant to the zoning ordinance are recommendations only to the County Council and do not constitute a final hearing. New evidence may be presented at the County Council public hearing. Decisions on variances made by this body constitute final action subject to an appeal to the County Council. What this means is that no new evidence may be presented at the time of the County Council public hearing on the appeal. An aggrieved party that appeals such a decision is confined to the record made before this body. Hearings by this body on rezonings, special exceptions, and variances are quasi-judicial in nature, meaning that this body is acting more like a court and must take into account all oral, written, or demonstrative evidence presented. Their decisions on these cases must be based on competent substantial evidence in the record, and competent substantial evidence has been defined as that evidence a reasonable mind would accept to support a conclusion. Thank you, Mr. Chair.
Thank you, Mr. Soria. And while on legal comments, I would like to ask the commission to disclose for the record any ex parte communications that have occurred before or during the public hearing at which a vote is to be taken on any quasi-judicial matter. So I'll start with my immediate right with Ms. Craig.
I have none.
None.
None. None.
And I have none. Okay, it seems like we do have an item to be continued. Ms. Smith, you want to tell us about that one?
Yes, sir. This is a variance 22-034. This was an item that you heard a few years ago. It was continued to no date certain. They did come forward and wanted to go this month. However, they missed due public notice. So they're asking to be heard July 18th.
Okay. All right. I think we need to put a time certain on this one. It's been out there for over 2 years. Can we make it for the July what meeting?
It's July 18th.
July 18th?
Yeah.
Okay.
Okay. I'll make a motion then, case V22034 be continued to July 18th, 2024 meeting.
Okay, I've got a motion on the floor to continue variance V22034 for a time certain of July 18th, 2024, from Mr. Sixman and second from Mr. Patterson. Any discussion on the motion? All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries unanimously. Okay, we do not have any unfinished or old business, so we'll move right into our new business. So, Ms. Shelley, could I get the first case read into the record, please?
Yes, sir. Case number V-24-036, a variance to the dock and boathouse regulations on urban single-family residential R3 zoned property.
Thank you, Ms. Shelley. Ms. Smith, this one is yours.
Yes, sir. This is a property on Lake George in Pearson. The applicant came in for a permit for a boat dock, and during the zoning review, they found out it was larger than is allowed by the zoning code. So they're requesting a variance to allow a dock size greater than 750 square feet. The zoning review revealed that this dock size is 1,320 square feet. It includes 2 covered boat slips, a dock, and then the walkway. The applicant states that they need the extra square footage for ADA access. We did find when we reviewed the application that it fails 4 of the 5 criteria, so we do recommend denial. However, due to the width of the property, it doesn't appear that it's going to be injurious to the surrounding area. It's a pretty wide parcel. And with that, I'd be happy to answer any questions.
Okay, do any questions from the staff? Hearing none. Okay, is the applicant present? The applicant's not present? Okay, then we do not have any public participation forms for this case. Okay, we're going to close the floor for public participation and open up for commission discussion or a motion.
Mr. Chair,
I wonder-
since the applicant isn't here, they've waived any right to basically contend or, dispute the staff's assertions. You can continue to a time certain and give the applicant a chance to show up and make their case, or you can rule on an up or down vote.
Okay, I would prefer to continue this to the end of our meeting today. At least give them in case they're running behind for whatever reason. Mr. Patterson?
I'd motion to continue the case
To win.
to the next meeting, July.
I would,
Good.
same
Be
here.
June.
I give them a month.
In June?
June.
Okay.
Sorry, June 18th.
All right. We've got a motion on the floor for Mr. Patterson to continue V 24036
Second.
and is from Mr. Patterson and a second from Mr. Costa to continue this case until our next meeting of June. What date is that?
That will be June 20th.
June 20th.
I'd highly suggest that they show up in June.
Yeah.
If they call when you inform them that we continued it, that's a strong suggestion from us that they should be here.
Yes, sir.
Exactly. I agree.
Yeah. Especially with the recommendation of denial.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
I was out there at the site on Saturday looking at that. I was actually involved when on the county council years ago when that park boat ramp was put in. I had 2 gentlemen that donated that land, and then that where this house is going, which is humongous property, so I'd like to see what they have to say.
Okay.
Sure.
All right, we have a motion on the floor. Any discussion on the motion? All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries unanimously.
And just for the record, I have a correction on page 5 of the report at the top in the staff recommendation. It says it fails to meet 3 of the 5 criteria, and it should be 4.
Yes, ma'am. It's correct on the front page, and
It is.
that is
Yes,
an error
but
on the
it's
last
back in
page.
here.
Yep.
Thank you. Just wanted that.
Okay, Ms. Shelley, could I get the next case, please?
Yes, case number V-24-038, variance to reduce minimum yard requirements on urban mobile home MH5 zoned property.
Thank you, Ms. Shelley. And this is Mr. Shams.
Hi, good morning. Steve Shams with Planning. So the property is MH5 on a waterfront lot, and the applicant is seeking to one variance to reduce the north waterfront yard for an in-ground swimming pool from 25 feet to 10 feet. It's currently developed with a single-family home and a screened porch. The porch is at the rear of the home and is approximately 14 feet by 34 feet. In between the porch and the seawall, there is a 150 square foot paver area. The existing screened porch or patio is non-conforming to the minimum waterfront yard, as it is approximately 19 feet from the concrete wall at the water's edge. When it was permitted, it met the old waterfront setback of 10 feet and was a conforming structure. So the applicants would like to put in a pool. Their proposed pool is 12 by 18 and also includes a spa that is 8 by 4. In order to create a buildable area of the pool, they're looking to remove 4 feet of depth from the porch on the patio's north side. And the in-ground pool is proposed to be located 10 feet from the concrete wall at the water's edge. Overall, staff recommends denial as the variances fail to meet 3 of the 5 criteria. Should the PLDRC find evidence to approve, staff recommends 2 conditions, and I'm available for comment or question.
Thank you, Mr. Shams. Any questions for staff? Okay. Mr. Shams, this is just for the pool, or is it for a pool enclosure also?
Just the pool.
Okay.
I do have a question.
Okay, Mr. Costa?
On page 3, the first paragraph, the very last line, when it says, when it was permitted, it met the old waterfront setback at 10 feet. Are you referring to just the screen room that's there now?
Yes.
Okay. So, and we're tearing part of that screen room down to accommodate the pool as well, correct?
Yes, sir.
All right, thank you.
Okay. All right, is the applicant present? Would you like to come forward, sir? Good morning, sir. You've heard the staff report this morning. Anything you'd like to add to that? And could I get your name and address for the record?
Gary L. Brannock at 167 Douglas Street, Edgewater, Florida.
Okay, you've heard the staff report. Anything you'd like to add to it?
No, sir. I just feel that, it's improving the neighborhood. We've got 5, I don't know, he didn't really say, but we've got 5 letters from our neighbors who basically will wake up every morning and see this pool. It's an improvement.
Okay.
And we didn't really know this when we bought the property in 2021.
Mm-hmm.
And it was changed in 2021. And if it wouldn't have been changed, we wouldn't be here today. We would just
Yes, sir.
be building the pool. But like I said, we're willing to tear off part of the pool, or the screen
room.
enclosure, to put the pool in to meet the setbacks of the 10 feet.
Okay. All right. Any questions for the applicant?
Nope.
All right, sir. Do we have any public participation? Okay, thank you, sir. We're going to close the floor for public participation and open up for commission discussion or a motion.
Well, I'll say this, that looking at the letters of support and that the fact that the overall footprint is not changing, I'd be willing to make a motion
All right, sir.
on case number V-24038 that we approve the variance with the staff recommended conditions.
Second.
Okay, and is it just
There's 2
one
of them.
condition? 2 conditions? Okay. Okay, I got a
And
motion.
Something I might add too, I mean, the next door neighbors got the same pool basically.
Yeah.
So if the applicant's willing to take most of their screen enclosure down, they're equal with next door, so.
Yeah. Okay, we got a motion on the floor for Mr. Costa to approve variance V24038 with the 2 staff conditions. And who seconded that? Ms. Shelley? And Ms. Shelley, do you have a second? Any discussion on the motion? All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries unanimously. Ms. Shelley, could I get the next case, please?
Yes, sir. Case number V-24-039, variance to the accessory dwelling unit ADU regulations on rural mobile home MH4 zoned property.
Thank you, Ms. Shelley. And Mr. Shams, this one is also yours.
Hi, good morning again. So the applicant is seeking a variance to the ADU regulations to allow them to construct an ADU that is larger than 50% of the existing principal structure. The property is currently developed with a 1,012 square foot mobile home that was originally permitted in 1994. They would like to add an additional mobile home to be used as an ADU, and the proposed mobile home is 840 square feet. If built to conform with ADU regulations, the maximum size would be 506 square feet. Therefore, they're about 33% over what's permitted. And as you can see on your screen, they are proposing to have the mobile home on the west side of the property. Overall, staff recommends denial as the variance fails to meet 5 of the 5 criteria. Should PLDRC approve the variance, staff recommends 2 conditions, and I'm available for comment or question.
Thank you, Mr. James. Any questions for staff?
Is the ADU a mobile home as well?
Yes, sir.
It is?
Mhm.
Okay. So it'd be 2 mobile homes on the same property?
That's correct.
Anyone else? Okay, is the applicant present? Could I get you to come forward, sir? And could I get your name and address for the record?
Okay, my name is Anthony Lancelota, 1902 South Air Park Road.
Okay, you've heard the staff report. Anything you would like to add to that?
Yes, we want to keep this home for one of us to live in. My son's living in one of them, and we want to add this one so me and my wife can live in this one.
Okay.
And there's
Okay.
plenty enough room, setbacks and everything there.
Yeah, so you're just doing it so another family member
Right.
can utilize it.
I don't want to toss my
unit.
kid out.
Okay, okay.
And especially the way that everything is now, I can't.
Yeah, okay, I agree with you. Okay. Any questions for the applicant?
Nope.
All right, sir, do we have any public participation? Okay, we're going to close the floor for public participation, open up for commission discussion.
Thank
You
you.
can have a seat now. Okay, I'll close the floor and open up for any discussion or motion.
I'll make a
like-
motion.
Go ahead.
Okay.
Case V 24-039, make a motion to approve the variance for the excess of 50 square feet, 50% with the two staff recommended conditions.
Second.
Okay, I've got a motion on the floor to approve variance V 24-039 with the two conditions from staff for Mr. Costa and a second from Ms. Shelley. Any discussion on the motion? Okay, all those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries unanimously. All right, Ms. Shelley, can I get the next case, please?
Yes, sir. Case number V-24-040, variances to minimum yard requirements and maximum lot coverage on Resource Corridor RC zoned property.
Okay, Ms. Ray, this one is yours.
Good morning. The applicant is requesting five variances for a proposed 1,894 square foot single-family residence. Variance 1 is to reduce the north side yard from 50 feet to 8 feet. Variance 2 is to reduce the east front yard from 50 feet to 36 feet. Variance 3 is to reduce the south side yard from 50 feet to 16.1 feet. Variance 4 is to reduce the west waterfront yard from 75 feet to 8 feet. And variance 5 is to increase the maximum lot coverage from 10% to 28.18%. The property used to be split zoned urban single-family residential R3 and RC. The previous owners requested an RC line adjustment to adjust the RC line to encompass the entire site. The previous owners also received variances in 2011 to construct a single-family home. The home was never built and those variances expired. Staff's recommendation for variances 1 through 5 is for denial, as it failed to meet 2 of the 5 criteria. However, should the PLDRC find that the applicant has provided competent substantial evidence, 2 conditions have been provided for consideration. I'm available for questions.
Thank you, Ms. Ray. Any questions for staff?
Nope.
None. Is the applicant present? Good morning, sir. Name and address for the record, please.
Good morning. 420 South Nova, attorney for the owners, and I do appreciate all the time staff's put into this. And just to quickly maybe hit on the points that we may have to agree to disagree on the denial criteria. The first one being that I don't think it was the result of the applicant. Yes, that one, they didn't make the situation. If you look around, all the zoning around it's R9. So, R9 minimums are 35% lot coverage, and have setbacks that are more stringent than what you see on this piece of property. It just happens to be by implication a piece of RC property, and if they had 25 acres to work with, I bet you they could make a house work. So, the other being the minimum possible. Again, it just doesn't. If you look in the neighborhoods, you look around. They're not asking for something crazy. It's a comparable house, and I wish I had the other variants to show you, but these setbacks are more stringent than the original variance. One of the side yards was, I think, 5 feet, and we're going to 16 feet, and the front yard we're giving 36 in lieu of 30. So. They're trying to do their best to make reasonable use. I can't speak for the previous owner of why they didn't build, but these folks, they've already done plans. They're excited. They really like the property and they want to build. And in terms of reasonableness of the request, it makes sense given the area and given how comparable this is to what's around it. So I'm available for questions if there's any clarifications, but I at least wanted to put that on the record.
Okay. Clarify the name and address again?
Joey Posey, 420 South Nova, attorney for the applicant.
All right, there you go. You said you were the attorney, that's why I was questioning. I had to get that in there. Let me see if we have any questions for you. Any questions for the applicant?
I do have a question for Mr. Posey. Good morning.
Good morning.
How are you?
I'm doing good.
So you mentioned that the properties surrounding it are zoned R9.
Correct.
If this property were in fact zoned R9 as opposed to RC, would any of these variances be required, or you'd still be coming in for a variance?
I don't believe so. Maybe the rear?
The waterfront yard would still need a variance.
The what side? The water side?
The waterfront yard, yes, sir.
That would be the only one.
That would be the only one at
Correct.
that point. Okay. Yeah, and I'm looking at this, and I'm not, in my mind, I'm not comprehending why this was rezoned to RC completely if it had a split zoning before, that they didn't go the other route as opposed to RC, but
That's a good question, too.
I can't speak for the previous owner, so, okay. That was my question. Thank you.
Okay, let's see, do we have any public participation for it? Okay, we're going to close the floor for public participation and open up for commission discussion or a motion.
Be glad to make a motion.
Okay, Ms. Shelley?
Move that case number V-24-040, variances to minimum yard requirements and maximum lot coverage to resource corridor zoned property, be approved, subject to the two staff conditions.
I'll set. Mr. Patterson, second.
Mr. Patterson got that one. Okay, I got a motion on the floor to approve variances 1 through 5 for V-24-040 with the two conditions from staff from Ms. Shelley, and a second from Mr. Patterson. Any discussion on the motion? All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries unanimously. All right. Ms. Shelley, could I get the next case, please?
Yes, sir. Case number S-24-005, a special exception for forestry resource subdivision on forestry resource FR zoned property.
Thank you, Ms. Shelley. And this one is Ms. Ray again.
Good morning. So the applicant is requesting a special exception for a forestry resource subdivision on a 30.84 acre parcel in the Seville area. The intent is to keep 10.84 acres for the existing residents and to sell 20 acres to the St. Johns River Water Management District for conservation. FR subdivision does allow a density of 1 dwelling unit per 10 acres instead of the normal 1 dwelling unit per 20 acres. So this would allow the applicant's property to remain conforming to the FR zoning classification. The property is completely surrounded by the Lake George Forest and Wildlife Management Area, and it is currently developed with a mobile home. The proposed project does meet the requirements of the special exception, and staff recommends forwarding to County Council with a recommendation of approval. I'm available for questions.
Thank you, Ms. Ray. Any questions for staff? Hearing none, is the applicant present? Would you like to come forward, sir? And if I could get your name and address for the record, sir?
Henry Morgenstern, 675 Lake George Road,
All
Seville.
right, sir, you've heard the staff report. Anything you'd like to add to it?
I do have some comments if you...
All right, yeah.
Good morning, Commissioners. My name is Henry Morgenstern. I've owned these 31 acres inside the Lake George Wildlife Management Area since 2005. My land is zoned forest resource, which requires a minimum 20-acre lot size. I've spent the last 40 years of my life trying to help protect Florida's native forests, habitats, and ecosystems. I bought this land because despite being an overgrown fire hazard and impediment to the sound management of your beautiful surrounding wildlife area, I could see from the remnant 100-year-old longleaf pines, the stream running through it, the rare isolated Tupelo swamp that we have in there, the equally rare and valuable scrubby flatwood uplands that is across the stream, a part of it, that this was potentially an ecological gem if it were only managed the way you, Volusia County, have so well managed the surrounding wildlife areas. At my request, when I purchased the property, the Florida Division of Forestry with the Florida Fish and Wildlife Conservation Commission prepared a wildlife and ecosystem management plan for me under the Florida Forest Stewardship Program. I have been diligently on my own to this day following that management plan and an updated 2020 plan funded and approved by the U.S. Department of Agriculture. I'm proud that the stewardship program saw fit to give me this recognition, certification in recognition of your outstanding natural resource management activities under the Florida Forest Stewardship Program. I'm here today because 20 acres of the best ecosystem areas on my land are now ready, largely due to my work under the management plan, to be turned over to become part of the Lake George Wildlife Management Area as managed by Volusia County. As you can see from your staff report, I have a contract to sell those 20 acres to the St. Johns River Water Management District. However, that will only leave me 11 acres to keep as my homestead, which is below the minimum lot size in the forestry zone. Fortunately, there's a provision in your rules that allows me to have a special exception for a minimum 10-acre lot size in the zone. So I am here to ask you to allow me to keep my 11-acre homestead. I'm not doing any new rebuilding, no development, no nothing. I just want to, the way it was, been. Keep my 11-acre homestead so that I can sell those 20 natural ecosystem acres to the Water Management District. Let me read to you an email from, and this will only take another minute, sorry. An email from Cynthia Venuti, your own Volusia County land manager, who's very familiar with my property and has been a big help to me since the time when she was district manager for my area a while back. Here's it. Mr. Morgenstern, I was very excited to hear that we hopefully will be acquiring your 20 acres. I will absolutely put in a good word for you when asked. I should add thank you for your interest in selling to the Water Management District and having the property added to the Lake George Forest and Wildlife Management Area. You've done great work out there, and now your legacy will be able to live on. Thank you. Take care, Cindy Venuti, land manager for Volusia County. Ms. Venuti has also asked me to tell you that this plan is also supported by the Volusia Forever Conservation Program. Your previous land manager, Stuart Jones, was also wonderfully supportive in getting me started back when he was your land manager in 2008, 2010. Commissioners, I'm 72 years old. Without long-term management, my restoration areas will once again become overgrown and lose their ecosystem value. Or worse, my heirs will be forced to sell, and someone could come in and clear-cut it for any of the long list of environmentally incompatible uses allowed in a forestry zone. Please help me protect both my work and your wildlife area by allowing me this special exception. I do also have Mr. George Johnson here, who was the USDA forest resource person in the land and has helped me with grants, helped and monitored, is very familiar with my land, who is willing to address you, to tell you the value of my work and the great loss it would be if it were not preserved for management by Volusia County. I'm open to any questions or if you'd like to hear from Mr. Johnson.
Okay. Any questions for the applicant? No, sir. Okay. Would you like to speak, Mr. Johnson? Did he fill out a public participation form? At the end, if you'll just fill out a form and give it to Ms. Tucker to my immediate left. Okay. Pardon me?
Could I sit down?
Yes. Mm-hmm. All right. Good morning, sir. Name and address for the record.
George Johnson, 2809 Coontie Avenue in Deltona.
Okay, Mr. Johnson, you'd like to speak to this case?
Yes, sure. I'm a retired district conservationist for USDA Natural Resource Conservation Service, and my office was here in DeLand. I worked with Henry for at least 10 years probably with conservation planning and forest management practices. He had several cost-share contracts through USDA NRCS to help him accomplish the work. He worked really hard to get this stuff done. It's a very unique kind of ecosystem in the middle of the forest. It's very rare, and without proper management, it will revert to, you know, a fire hazard and lose all its ecological value. So that's what I'm here to just bring that out, and
Okay.
he wants to preserve that, and it's a very unique piece of property. So
Okay. Any questions for Mr. Johnson? All right, well, thank you, sir. Okay, anyone else who'd like to speak? Ms. Tucker, do we have anything else? Do we have anyone else who'd like to speak to this case? Okay, we're going to close the floor for public participation, open up commission discussion or a motion.
I think I'm ready to make a motion here.
Okay, Mr. Sixsmith?
I want case S24005. I'm going to make a motion for approval before the county council.
Okay. Okay. I've got a motion on the floor to forward the special exception case S24005 to the county council for final action with a recommendation of approval from Mr. Sixma and a second from Mr. Patterson. Any discussion on the motion? All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries unanimously. Okay, Ms. Shelley, can I
Chair?
get the next case, please?
I did want to make a comment.
Uh-huh.
When I drove up to Seville to look at that property up there, I was very impressed with what's going on, and I could see where there had been some fire damages on some of the pine trees. You could see, so I'm glad you're doing what you're doing, Mr. Morgenstern. Thank you.
Yeah. It's very rare we get a case like this. Very rare we get a case like this. Okay. Ms. Shelley, could I get the next case, please?
Yes, sir. Case number S-24-008, special exception for nonprofit organization camp on prime agriculture A1 zoned property.
Thank you, Ms. Shelley. And Ms. Smith, this one is yours.
Yes, sir. This property is located in DeLeon Springs on the northern banks of Lake Winona. Just very quickly, there's one correction on page 2, number 9. This is in the DeLeon Springs priority focus area. This mistakenly said Blue Springs. The camp is owned by the YMCA, and it's been operating for over 100 years as an overnight camp. And full disclosure, I attended in the 1970s, so it's been there quite a long time.
Wow.
The organization applied for a conceptual site plan in March of '24. They're trying to build a 1,300 square foot stage for outdoor performances, and at that time, the staff flagged that this facility is a non-conforming use. It's been around a lot longer than the zoning code. It's allowed to continue operating, but it cannot expand until it comes into compliance. They can continue operations, they can't expand. And the applicant needs a special exception for a not-for-profit camp to come into compliance. Once that use is approved, they can apply for a final site plan and they can go get their building permit for the stage. Again, they've been there a long time, no problems, no complaints, no violations. And in case you haven't ever been to this camp, if you look in your staff report, there's a bunch of photos of happy campers. It's a great place, and we do recommend approval of this use.
Okay, thank you, Ms. Smith. Any questions for staff?
Just curious, why wasn't this able to be done at desktop staff level? This approval?
The problem is they've been here forever. They
Mhm.
weren't operating under our current zoning code, and our zoning staff flagged them and said they need to meet the current code, and the current code would be to get that use in place. Because in A1, this type of thing would not be allowed currently,
Mm-hmm.
but it can be through a special exception,
So even though they were grandfathered in from over 100 years ago, they still have to go through this process?
unfortunately.
Okay.
They're expanding it. If they want to operate as is and not put another building in, and they're just making repairs, they could continue to do that. But it's because they're building this new stage outside of the original footprint, it's considered an expansion.
Okay. Thank
So,
you.
Ms. Smith, this special exception does not put any additional restrictions on them, correct?
That's
Than
correct.
what they currently are
Well,
under.
they'll need to go through site plan just to formalize their site plan, and that's with our land development office. And then they'll have the plan on file, and they're good to go to get building permits.
Okay, but there isn't an issue with the site plan of being required to do additional steps in order to get to come in compliance
No, sir.
with the special exception?
No, sir.
I just didn't want to put a burden on them with, add just for the special exception. Okay. All right, is the applicant present? Good morning, sir. If you want to give me your name and address for the record, sir.
Chris Silcop, 320 West Rich Avenue, DeLand, Florida.
All right, you've heard the staff report. Anything you'd like to add to that?
No, sir. No, sir. They've been very supportive, fantastic, and I can just say this is necessary because we plan to do a lot of renovations, upgrade to Camp Winona in the next few years. There's only 2 YMCA camps left in Florida. They're being sold off. Before there's 5, and now there's 2, and so we want to do a lot of upgrades and improvements at camp to make sure kids have a place to go in the summertime without their phones. So, so we're just trying to make sure we get all of our ducks in a row so we can start our capital campaign and get moving to do some much needed improvements out there.
Okay. All right, do we have any questions for the applicant? All right, sir. Do we have any public participation? Oh, okay. Slipped it in there on me. Okay, Ms. Manuzzi. Good morning. Could I get your name and address for the record?
Amy Munizzi, representing the DeLeon Springs Community Association, not just myself, but the entire community. And our address is 150 Spring Garden Ranch Road. But I happen to live in the area of Camp Winona, and I can personally tell you what a phenomenal organization they are. And as they said, you know, this is really kind of a housekeeping thing. They've been there for over 100 years, but they did the right thing when trying to come forward to get a permit to build a stage. And that's what kicked all this into gear for them. But it just gives me an opportunity to come forward, even though I know you'll probably pass this unanimously. I hope so. But it gives me an opportunity to come forward and tell you how valuable they are to this community in DeLeon Springs, how valuable they are to Volusia County. And they have kids that come from all over the state. And as she said, you know, if you look at the pictures of all the happy campers, it really is true. These kids, some of them are lower income, some are high income. Some can afford it, some can't. Some are special needs. They have a diabetes camp that they've done for at least 20 years. And you see kids out there, they come to camp. Some of them have never left home before, never had an overnight. And they come out there like little scared rabbits. And by the time this group is finished with them, they are excited, they're laughing. They scream all the time. You can hear it all the way across the lake because they're having so much fun. It's just a wonderful experience for all of them. They, as he touched on, it's such a technological world for these kids, and they shut off their phones. They get out under the stars. They see the wonders and the beauty of nature. Deer walk through there. I mean, most of these kids would never experience something like that. So this camp is so valuable to our community in this county and the state. And as he said, more and more of these camps are closing down. So this is all the more valuable because there are so few of them. So we highly recommend that you give them this special exception. We just wanted to get up here and tell them in front of all of you how much we value them. And if you didn't get a chance to go out there and check it out, I know they would love to have you come out and see it, because if you did, you would just be blown away at what a wonderful experience it is for the kids. Thank you.
Thank you. Okay, do we have anyone else? Okay. All right. I remember this camp as a kid, and I can tell you, if you haven't been out there, you need to go out there and take a look at it, because it is just a very
Two
good.
of my kids over 30 years ago were out there at that.
Yeah,
Yeah, my son was out there too.
yeah, it's a heck of a place. Okay, any well, okay, we're going to close it for public participation.
I'll be glad to
Open
make
it
a
up for
motion.
commission discussion, and okay, Ms. Shelley, go ahead.
I move that we forward the special exception case number S-24-008 to the county council for final action with a recommendation of approval.
Second.
You got it?
Okay, I've got a motion on the floor to forward the special exception case number S-24-008 to the county council for final action with a recommendation of approval from Ms. Shelley and a second from Mr. Costa. Any discussion on the motion? All those in favor signify by saying aye.
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 Any opposed? Motion carries unanimously. Okay, Ms. Shelley, could I get the next case, please?
Yes, sir. Case number PUD-23-013. A rezoning from the transitional agriculture A3 and the commercial marina B7 zoning classifications to a planned unit development PUD with a mixed-use subclassification.
Okay, Mr. Shams, this one is yours.
Hi, good morning. Steve Shams with Planning. So this site is being rezoned as a PUD. Historically, it's been active since the 1950s when it opened as a Sunshine Fishing Club. Over the course of its lifetime, it became the Sunrise Fish Camp and is operated as a restaurant, a marina, and a bait and tackle shop. In January 1997, 5 mobile homes were permitted on the site and have been continually occupied by permanent residents. There have been 2 other attempts at expanding the uses to a PUD rezoning since '97, but these have not been successful. The restaurant on site burned down in 2013, unfortunately, and was removed shortly after. In 2016, the applicant, or the property owner, applied to restore the marina, but due to unforeseen circumstances has not been able to proceed until now. So overall, the PUD has 2 objectives. The first is to legitimize the existing 5 single-family residential uses, 3 RV pads, the marina operations, and marina storage units. The second objective is to expand the original request to add 17 wet boat slips, 4 dry boat slips, 6 additional RV pads, and 12 rental cottages, as you can see on the southern side of the property. The rental cottages will be established in a new area on that southern property boundary, and the other improvements will be made in existing areas. The property will be provided potable water by the Lake Beresford Water Association and sanitary sewer services by the City of DeLand. The PUD will be developed in 2 phases. Phase 1, which is estimated for 2026, includes all the existing features of the site, and Phase 2, with the 2027 commencement, includes the cottage area. There's also a provision in the development agreement that as the permanent residents either leave or the structures are removed, they can be converted to cottages through the final site plan process to no more than 5 additional cottages. The project meets the county's PUD requirements, the Manatee Protection Plan requirements, and the Hontoon Island Local Plan requirements. It's consistent with comprehensive plan policies related to agritourism and public access to waterways for recreation. And if approved, the project would generate an estimated 216 daily trips and would not reduce the level of service below a C rating, which is a requirement of the Hontoon Island Local Plan. Staff recommends forwarding to County Council with a recommendation of approval, and I'm available for comments or questions.
Okay, Mr. Shams, any questions for staff? Okay, Ms. Craig?
Is there any indication of why this was not approved in '97?
I believe at the time they were looking to expand the site considerably, and the County Council did not approve that action.
And the size of the lot?
No, not the size of the lot they used. They wanted, I believe, 50 RV sites.
Oh, yikes.
The County Council didn't believe that was a good use of the property.
The rental properties that are on there, are they long or short term?
So the proposed rental properties would be short term because we're adding the use hotel motel to the site.
Okay, all right. It talks about a couple of storage property or buildings on site. What is that storage for, do you know?
It's for the marina operations.
Oh, I see. Okay,
Yes.
that makes sense.
And we do have the applicant's representative here who can probably provide more detailed information to you.
Gotcha. Okay, thank you.
Okay, Mr. Shams, also, this PUD total overall, even converting the existing dwelling to a rental unit, how many units are we actually looking at adding in there?
So there's
With the pads, with the RV pads?
Okay, so there would be 9 RV pads, 12 rental cottages, and there's 5 existing homes, which could then be converted to 5 cottages. in
Could
the
be
future.
converted to 5 cottages with the 5 existing homes.
What was your question? I'm sorry.
So I'm just trying to figure out how many actual rental units could go into that area.
So it's a maximum, yeah, so it's 5 in the residential area, and then there's
Okay.
12 in the cottage area.
Okay. Got it.
So a total
Okay.
of 17.
All right. Any other questions for staff? Is the applicant present? Good morning, sir. If you give me your name and address for the record.
Good morning. For the record, Mark Watts with the law firm of Cobb Cole, 231 North Woodland Boulevard, DeLand. And my clients were actually going to be here this morning, but you guys have moved so quickly that my estimate that this wouldn't get up until 10 or so proved to be absolutely inaccurate. So
You don't,
they may.
you don't look like Nika.
I'm a little
Nika's gonna
taller.
be here.
I'm a little taller, but no, we appreciate the opportunity to be here this morning. Want to thank staff for all the time that they've spent with us kind of working through the PD here. This is actually one that when we started working on it, I was pretty excited about because I think it's a really good use and reuse of this property that, you know, as the staff report indicates, has long been kind of a recreational opportunity to provide access to the river and to Lake Beersford. You know, Mr. Mills, to answer your question, 26 would be the total between cottages and the potential expansion of the cottages and the RV pads. If you added all those together, it would be about 26 places for people to come in either with an RV or, you know, to rent the cottages. So this is really similar to like Highland Park Fish Camp out in the Glenwood area, where you've got some of those park model, you know, cottages, things of that nature, where you can come in and rent for the weekend or rent for the week and get out into the Lake Woodruff or the various places, you know, kind of around, you know, the west side of the county and enjoy the river. So I really didn't have a whole lot to add with regard to the presentation. I think the staff report does a great job of kind of summarizing both the history and the request. Ms. Craig, to a couple of the questions that you raised, the storage containers, they actually use the marina also for some of the rowing training that happens out on Lake Beersford. So you may be familiar with Stetson's rowing facility. There are also a couple of private coaching groups that coach people that are into rowing or sculling. And so the storage containers would be for the equipment related to that and the marina operations. But I think otherwise, you know, as staff indicated, it's consistent, really lines up very well with a lot of the policies in the comp plan with regard to providing access to, you know, our natural resources and our recreation, you know, opportunities. And I'd say the only thing that I took minor issue with in the staff report was that we couldn't use the dirt road as part of our common open space. And I thought, you know, to anybody that's ever seen the Andy Griffith show and the lead into that, you know, Andy and Opie walking down the road to go fish, you know, that was the thing that came to mind to me. Mike Woods went walking past my office whistling that earlier today after I was talking about that. So anyway, here to answer any questions you might have, but I appreciate your time and the time the staff spent with us on this.
Okay. Any questions for the applicant?
Just want to make a comment. Don't underestimate the efficiency of this council, of this commission, rather. We go rather quickly.
Last item, there's like 10 things in front of me. I was like, surely this is going to be 10:30 before we get up. So, well done.
Okay. Mr. Watts, I do have a question. Are you familiar with the previous PUD and why it failed?
My understanding was the intensity of it. Again, that was purely an RV park operation, and it was 50 or so units, so more than double the intensity that we were looking for in this particular application. That was also back in '97. I think there were may have been some additional comp plan policies in effect at that point in time. The main comp plan policy with regard to intensity that we've had to make sure we're monitoring on the Pontoon Peninsula is the level of service C that's adopted for the roadways out there. And as you see in the staff report, we are very well below that standard. So I think it really is coming back with a much less intense plan versus the one that was in '97. That is the primary thing here. And this one really is kind of an evolutionary plan. Everything won't go in at once. It's kind of planning for the gradual evolution of the site.
Okay. And as we all know, that is a little bit of a wet area out there.
Mm-hmm.
Is there plans in the development stage to raise the elevation of this property?
I don't know what, from an engineering standpoint, whether that would be necessary. The way that the property is, it does slope down pretty well down, you know, from Pontoon Road down to where the marina is. So I think in the cottage areas, you know, we may have to have some leveling or things of that nature. That'll all have to be reviewed, obviously, during the site plan review process. But I'm not expecting a lot of import on this site just because of the natural grade that's already there.
Okay.
I actually launched
because that
a
would
boat
be
out
one
there
of my
from
main
time.
concerns is we don't have a big impact on the adjacent property owners and raising the elevation higher than what theirs is from the existing elevations.
Yep.
And so, other than that, that would be my biggest concern there.
And as you know, we have pretty strict restrictions on what we're able to do in that regard. That goes through your staff review.
Okay. All right. Okay, do we have any public participation? Yeah, we do. Okay, sir, we have someone like to speak, and I'll give you an opportunity to address their concerns or rebuttal after the fact. Good morning, sir. Could I get your name and address for the record? And if I could, when you're done, if you could fill out a form at the back and give it to Ms. Tucker to my immediate left.
Yes,
Okay.
sir, I'd be glad to.
All right.
My name's Harlan Basir. I own the property at 1903 Hontoon. It's just north. There's 11 acres and a large residential piece of property, and then A3. So I have some concerns that I wanted to voice. I was hoping to meet the owner because I don't really want to, get on the bad side of a neighbor, but I didn't have the opportunity to do so, so I'll just raise the concerns here. A couple of them are the expansion of the RV area is one concern. I think back in '97 when they tried to do this, the width of the road was a big issue. We have a pretty narrow road that kind of leads out to our properties, and I know there was some concern. Some of the RVs these days are quite large, and just the transient sort of nature of the expansion of the RV area was a little bit concerning to me and the value of our property, so I wanted to kind of raise that. Second, I didn't see on the plans, I didn't see a restroom on the plans. It might have been there and maybe I missed it, but there's, 17 boat slips, and then there's, some non-motorized boat slips. I suppose those are like houseboats or whatever, but I didn't see anything written about pump out stations or restrooms. And I also didn't see, the parking, for that many slips. I mean, I'm not really, I think the plan overall is good. I have no problem with the cottages, and I think, the water retention area, the landscape buffering, I think it looks like a nice plan. I just had some concerns and questions about that. I think there was Mark brought up the comparison to Highlands Fish Camp. I think it's a very different ambiance to Highlands Fish Camp. It's more of a rural sort of setting, where ours is, there's a lot of really fine homes that run along Hontoon Peninsula, and so I think it's quite different in the ambience of it. But I have no problems with cabins or the boat slips in general, or the landscapes or the retention ponds. Just has some concerns about being next door and its impact on the value of our property and any kind of environmental concerns about our property. There's going to be a lot of traffic, so I'm kind of wondering where they're going to park. So
Right.
again, I was going to ask the owner some of these questions, but didn't get a chance to.
Okay. Well, maybe Mr. Watts can give you some explanation on that. That was my concern, is we don't see an actual development plan here, is what they're going to actually do. This is more or less going as a PUD, and for the unit amount of units, and it has to go through the land development process, and they'll have to address all those issues there, which is really out of our hands once it gets out of here.
Got it.
But I'll let Mr. Watts try to address some of your concerns, and then we'll see if you're going to get some kind of an idea what's going on there. Okay?
Thank you for your time.
All right. Do we have any other public participation? Okay. Mr. Watts.
Yes, sir. Thank you. And just to address a couple of those points, I don't believe offhand that there is a restroom facility that would be associated with the marina. If one's required, then obviously we would need to cite that during the site plan review. With regard to the parking that's being provided, we're not looking for any variance or waiver through the PUD from the parking standards that would apply. So when we come through the site plan, we'll have to provide the number of parking spaces that are required based on your marina parking standards and things of that nature. The individual cottages, have parking associated with them, so they would have a place to park a vehicle and have that right there next to the cottage. I think that the parking that's required, you can kind of see on the plan. It's really kind of hard to see. It's down there in the marina area. But again, if those numbers need to be expanded based on the code requirements, then those would be added during the site plan review process. With regard to pump outs, there's not a separate pump out facility that would be provided here. We would have to provide the sewer connections and everything else for that as part of the facility upgrade. So as the staff report indicates, we do have sanitary sewer that comes onto the site that is provided by the city of DeLand. So we'll have to provide connections into that sanitary sewer system for all of the units, including those RV units that are installed. So I think that covered those. The only other thing that I would just note that with regard to those kind of particular uses, access, we're aware that, the road system out there, it is a fairly narrow road. If we have to do any upgrades for access, turning lanes or anything like that, that would be kind of reviewed and determined during that site plan review process. Those would be required improvements that the applicant would have to add in to accommodate, RVs and things of that nature coming in and out. You do have a couple of similar facilities out on the peninsula as is. You've got Riviera out off Bott's Landing Road that I think has some RV spaces. I know you've got RV spaces at 44 at the old Crow's Bluff facility, and I think at Pontoon Marina out across from the island, you've got some additional things like that. So it's, again, not a huge component of the overall proposal here, those 9 spaces, but we think that it's consistent with the comp plan providing those additional recreational access opportunities. So I'm more than happy to set up a meeting, get you and the owner talking anytime between now and going to council. So.
Okay. I guess this is a question for staff. During the development review, can his issues be, his concerns be brought up to that from the public during the review?
Absolutely.
Okay.
And those are public meetings.
Yeah.
Yep.
So that would be a good time to bring up your concerns, like I said, because once we approve the PUD, everything's left up to the development.
And we'll make sure to make contact and schedule a meeting with our client and all the neighboring property owners between now and council.
Okay. As well. Okay, any questions for Mr.
Yeah, I was reading on page 59. It said on there that the bathroom facilities would be furnished by the neighbor. What's that about?
Page 50. He's joking.
Mark, there is no
He's
page
joking.
59.
Like 59.
There's no page 59.
He's a page 59.
Send everybody to the yacht club,
Okay. All right. Okay, if we don't have any other public participation forums, we'll close it off to public participation, open up for commission discussion or motion.
I'm ready to make a motion. It's a beautiful site out there too. I think this is a well done project here. Case PUD 23013. I'm gonna make a motion for approval to the county council.
Okay. Do I have a second?
I think Donna's got a question.
Yeah, Ms. Craig?
If we pass this and this goes to county council, when are these things going to be addressed as far as the,
The land review after the fact?
after council?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, thank
Mhm. Okay, any other discussion on the motion? Okay, I've got a motion on the floor from Mr. Sixma to forward the rezoning application case number PUD 23013 to county council for final action with a recommendation of approval. And a second from Mr. Costa. Was it Mr. Costa that the second? Any discussion on the motion? All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries unanimously.
Appreciate your time and your expediency this morning.
Okay, that does it for the business of today. And so do we have any other public items?
No, sir.
Do we have any staff items?
Just one. As you know, there are 7 members on your commission.
Mhm.
You have 2 ex officio members, one from the school board and one from the military. Your military representative has asked to come and have a presentation in June, so you'll hear from him about some of the military operations in our area at the June meeting.
Okay. All right. Any other staff items?
No, sir.
All right. Staff comments?
No, sir.
All right. Commission comments? You had him worried.
Hmm?
You had him worried.
I had a word.
Mr. Watts, you had him worried.
Oh,
He was looking
yeah,
for that
he
page
was looking for
50
page 59. too. Where is? Yeah, he did.
Okay, any other commission comments? Press and citizen comments?
When's Al going to say something? Al, we need you to come up. And
Al's
talk
not
to
going
us
to say
sometime.
anything.
He's a smart
This
man.
meeting is adjourned.
Good job, guys.